Hey guys, I'm here with Marewa and we're just going to catch up and talk a little about nutrition and a few key tips in the lead up to an event. So I'm 6 weeks out, Marewa, from the half marathon. What would you recommend and where to start?
Alrighty, so where to start, 6 weeks out in terms of like a race nutrition plan. So the key things you've got to think about is your hydration, your electrolytes and your fuel. So that's carbohydrates. The reason we need carbohydrates when we exercise is because our body has enough fuel in it to last about an hour of exercise, and after that we'll start fatiguing if we don't replace it. So every hour you need a certain amount of carbs to keep performing, I guess, at a level. So you need to figure out how many carbs you need per hour, how you're going to get those carbs, and that can be through gels, that can be through your hydration, or like a combination of real food. So there's heaps of different ways. Then you need to figure out how much hydration you need per hour, and also how you're going to replace the electrolytes you're losing in sweat. So a few other key things you need to think about.
So would you recommend, obviously now as we start to get into these runs, is obviously to experiment with all the different, I guess, the food, and then obviously the gels and also the hydration?
Yep, so what I would do is figure out how many you need per hour of different things. So carbs, you possibly need around 60 grams per hour. Someone might need more if they're going for longer, but for a half, maybe 60 grams per hour is fine. So then you need to break that down into how you're getting your 60 grams per hour. So one gel's 25 grams, so that's roughly half of that. So then you've got to make up another 30, 35 grams. So that might be another gel and hydration, or might be real food or a chew or something. So it's just figuring out the puzzle to get to your 60 grams.
Yeah, and I guess for those that are starting out fresh and a little bit like, hey, I'm a little bit lost in where to start, if they are going for like a longer run on a Saturday morning, for example, and they have their breakfast maybe an hour or so earlier, and then they're going to go out for their run, would you recommend that they maybe try that, going for 2 gels in the hour to start off with?
Yep, so I think there's like the gold standard of how many carbs you need per hour, but it's all very well having that, but it's actually quite hard to run and force yourself to eat and drink. So it's a really good point. I'd use the long runs to actually practice that. A hydro pack's really good because you can sip away, so you can actually teach your body to have fluids. I know when I started running, I couldn't drink, like it just didn't work. I got the stitch, I had to stop. So it's something you can train your body to take on, so that definitely use your longer runs. And even we're 6 weeks out, so you don't actually have that many long runs to go. So even use some of your shorter runs to practice that as well. So it's like a skill,
And then so obviously as we don't actually have the big, like that many Saturday runs or whatever weekend runs to go. So just trying to, I guess, experiment with that too. And then in terms of the gels and that, you recommend just obviously trying to have them as you go, but then in the second hour, still trying to have that 2 or 3 or
So definitely start early and frequently, because by the time your body starts fatiguing, it's already kind of too late. So you can even have a gel 10 minutes before you start the race to help increase your blood sugar levels, so that once the race starts, you're good to go. And then even as early as 15, 20 minutes in, I would start having my first gel or first bit of fuel, whatever it is. So definitely spread it out evenly and consistently, but start early is the key.
And I guess it's a little bit off the race day topic, but if people are starting to get hungrier throughout the day or at night after doing a few more runs throughout the week, what would you recommend there?
So I think as your training ramps up, you've got to kind of adjust your diet around that as well. So that's making sure you recover properly. So eating as soon as you finish your workout session, having protein, carbohydrates, so you're replacing what your body's using, and also hydrating as well. If you've got a really long run coming up, like on a weekend, then the night before it, you can start, it's like kind of mini carbo loading, right? So make sure you have a really decent dinner with plenty of good carbohydrates in there as well, so you're not starting your training on empty and you're actually fueling it properly. So that's really important for recovery.
Because I think a lot of people will be going to that stage now where they're starting to experiment and things might be going, hey, this is not feeling right, or this is not sitting well with me. And that's when people might be starting to get a little bit run down. Is there anything you'd kind of like recommend straight off the cuff that you'd be like, hey, you should be doing this or that, or you're a little bit...
I definitely think experimenting is fantastic, but definitely do it in your training. Don't do anything different on race day that you wouldn't do in training. That's like the biggest point to hammer home. And I think, whatever you're going to try in your training. There's so many things we could do. You could put in your beat leading up to the race to help increase your blood flow. Obviously there's the gel just before you start. There's so many different things you can do, but it's just figuring it all out. What works for you won't work for someone else. So
Okay, and then what about people that start to, I guess, battle with cramp?
Cramp? Is that a personal thing there, Matt?
Oh, no, well, it has been from time to time, but not at present. Yeah.
So cramp's one of those things that the easiest way to fix cramp is preventing it so it doesn't ever happen. So hydration's really important with that, and also replacing the electrolytes you lose in sweat. So gels don't tend to have high levels of electrolytes, so that's where your hydration's really important, like your sports drink hydration. We do electrolyte capsules, which is an extra dose of that. You can take those leading up to an event, so you're less likely to cramp during the event, and fitness is another important thing.
So you think fitness plays a big part?
Yeah, massive part.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, okay. And then I guess what else would you recommend? Some other things?
I think that covers most bases. It's just you're 6 weeks out, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, just start working towards your end goal, do some research into what you want to do on race day, and then start doing it in your long training programs and work towards it.
And if something doesn't work, you can always experiment the next time you go out, say, hey, that didn't work for me.
Yep.
And then by the end of this, over the next 6 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, you probably have it nailed what you're going to be doing in that
100%,
final.
yeah. And don't change it on race day. If someone gives you, because often on race day, you even get to the red joe and you're like, oh, this is a secret product, or like, these new socks are going to be amazing, and they just will wreck your day, so just don't do it.
And they say that now, especially with the weather being so up and down, that you can be training obviously in the warmer weather, and it gets the race day and then it's freezing. Well, massive thanks, Marewa, with that, and I guess if anyone does have any questions, they can let us know.
Yeah, fire them through. We could do a live.
DM us. Yeah. Thanks, Marewa.
No worries, good luck.